Hello and welcome into the season finale of the Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. I'm Jeremy Huber coming at you on one more Friday night. This will be our last Friday night show of the season. We may do ourselves one last show, though that would be more of a pre-tape show that kind of be up there for everyone to listen to, kind of reviewing everything. Though this show kind of reviews it all. We got a who's who when it comes to DMV high school football tonight. We will check in with a host of state champions and teams vying for state championships. We'll be joined by the head coach of the 4A champs in Maryland, DeLon Parrish. Also, we'll check in with the head coach of the WCAC champions, DeMatha. Elijah Brooks will join us on the show. Also, we'll hear from the one of the stars of Gonzaga's DCSAA AA state championship team, safety Luke McCaleb, won player of the year, player of the game honors in their championship win over H.D. Woodson. Also, we hear from John Simon, the head coach of Sidwell Friends, his Quakers winning the DCSAA Single A championship. Also, we will go ahead and check in with a few others on the show today. We will also hear from the head coach of the Westfield Bulldogs. Of course, Westfield getting ready to play in their state championship tomorrow against Oscar Smith. Kyle Simmons will join the show in just one moment. But before we get to any of that, I want to let you know how you can get in touch with us here on the Final Drive. Easiest way to do it is via Twitter at DMVStream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream. Hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Well, again, Westfield getting ready for their matchup tomorrow in Charlottesville against Oscar Smith. The Bulldogs looking for their first state title since 2007 after breaking their string of 4 straight losses in the regional final. Had a chance to catch up with the head coach of the Bulldogs earlier today, Kyle Simmons. Well, Kyle, obviously you guys into the state championship game, obviously want to talk about that, but got to go back to last week. And we've talked a few times throughout the year, and, you've talked about throughout the year having guys, the suspensions, the injuries, building up some depth, and obviously a different game than the last time you played South County. I know you may have expected to win the game, but did you expect to win it the way you did last week?
No, I didn't. I felt really good. I felt good about where we were as a team. I felt good about our game plan. It was a beautiful day. I was about as confident as I've ever been going into a football game, but I certainly didn't expect 40-8.
Yeah, and obviously not just a great offensive performance, but a defensive performance. Were there some things you guys did differently in that game? Obviously, we know you're kind of moving some things around when it comes to quarterback and wide receiver, and I'll get to that in a second. But was there anything else that you guys did, or just was it a case of playing better?
Well, I think our defense played the way they've been playing all season, which is with a great game plan, great preparation, not allowing the other team to run the ball, trying to make them one-dimensional. I think offensively, we have moved some parts around here lately, just trying to, evolve and find out what works best for us. We've done a lot of different things throughout the season, and I think we're at a good spot offensively as far as the pieces go. And certainly now we don't need to worry about tendencies as much, so we can kind of hedge our bets in some directions that maybe you're not comfortable doing in the middle of the season, where teams might catch on to you. And then our special teams, our punt and kickoff has just been incredible these last few games. And when it comes to field position, that's putting us offensively and defensively in good positions. So those things all helped out last Saturday. And like I said, just as a team, we're just in a really good spot. And when you're playing well as a team, you're playing for one another, you're bought in, that just makes you so strong. And that's where we're at. We're peaking at a good time.
Yeah, obviously, when you put 40 points up on a good team like South County, you're playing very well. Of course, one of the things that everyone's been looking at is the switch up, moving Tyler Scanlon back out to the wide receiver spot, Ramon Johnson playing some quarterback for you. It's funny. I was talking to some folks, and, the defensive coaches usually get the bad rap. They're the ones who are always conservative, they always say. Well, that move didn't seem like a conservative one. You being an old defensive coordinator, how much convincing did it take you to go ahead and make that change?
Our staff meets every Sunday morning, and we start throwing paint on the wall, figuring out what did we do well last week, where can we go from here, and it didn't take much convincing. I mean, it just had to happen when it happened. A lot of people maybe felt that it should have happened sooner, but we needed some things to work itself out offensively before we were ready to make that move. And it just felt like the right time, and Tyler bought in and Ramon was ready, and it's ended up being a really good move for us. And we can use them both at quarterback and we can use them both at wide receiver, and keep defenses on their heels a little bit.
Talking to Kyle Simmons, head coach of the Westfield Bulldogs, getting ready for their state championship showdown against Oscar Smith this weekend. Get to that one second, Coach. But again, so much made of the, losing the 4 straight state champ or regional finals. And again, I thought when I saw that, I saw the picture of you getting the trophy. It almost reminded me of the old Steve Young line from the Super Bowl where he says, "Get the monkey off my back." Was it a great feeling just to go ahead and say, okay, enough of this stuff. I'm not worried about it anymore?
Sure. I love getting the bigger trophy, no doubt about it, but I'm also happy that we're in the discussion over the last 5 years and we're in the mix. And I think that says a lot about our program. I think it says a lot about our kids, community, our support staff, our coaching staff. So absolutely. I wanted to win that game just as bad as anybody. And, I felt the monkey on my back. I try to ignore it. I try to be happy that, like I said, that we're in the mix, but I can't lie and say that that wasn't a relief.
Let's switch it over to Oscar Smith, a very quality opponent. They get there. They knock off Ocean Lakes, last year's state champion. They get through to this game. Again, a lot of talent for that Oscar Smith team. What do you know about them? What concerns you about them?
Yeah, they've beat some really good football teams. Specifically, that Ocean Lakes team was really strong, and for them to be 13-0 to go through the teams they've gone through shows what quality team they have. And I think the quality program they have also, because they've been in the mix quite a bit over the last 10 years. So good for them. Athletic. They get the ball vertical well, and they also throw their quick game very well, their screen game. And they got a back in the backfield, number 13, I believe he's a sophomore, that's pretty quick. So they can do several things well on offense. It's going to be about us defensively, picking up on tendencies and the preparation that we've put in to figure out what they're going to try to do on any given formation or down a distance or field position type of thing. Defensively, really strong on the edges and in the back ends. We've got to establish the run game to open up some quick stuff passing wise and take a shot every now and then. Then we just got to wear on them. We got to play good team football and be in it going into late into the game where, maybe they got a few more guys playing both ways and, get their hands on their hips a little bit. And special teams wise, we've got to win the special teams. I think statistically, you could not argue that we're not better than them special teams wise, but being better than somebody and winning it are two different things. And we've got to win the special teams game.
Most definitely. Kyle Simmons, head coach of the Westfield Bulldogs, joining us for a few more seconds. Coach, I know that obviously this is your first state title game as a head coach, but you obviously were on the coach for Bannock's staff for both state titles that Westfield won previously. Does that help you a little bit in the sense that you kind of know what to expect, even if you weren't doing it in the head coach's seat? You've seen this situation before?
Yeah, I think probably just the experience of having been there twice and having those feelings and that almost giddiness that you have when you get to do that helps me, because it keeps me a little more, keeps things in perspective a little more, and keeps me a little more grounded that this is not new to me. I've already got 2 rings, and obviously I want the 3rd one, and I want it as a head coach, but I've done this before, and I can relay that to my coaches and my players who've not experienced it.
Coach, one last one for you. I know some of those ultra-talented teams you were a defensive coordinator for with Westfield. This team maybe not as talented, and again, it'd be your first, would make it special, but would it be very special in the sense that all the things that you guys have been through as a team this year to go ahead and somehow find a way to pull off a state championship? Would that be just a wonderful feeling there?
That'd be an incredible feeling. I think we were incredibly talented in 2003. I think in 2007, we felt like it was maybe a little more of a team win. And, if you could be part of some of the conversations I had with myself at the beginning and midway through this football season, there's no way you would have thought we'd be where we are. And so to be here and really to have flown under the radar this whole time and to surprise people like we have here at the end, I'm going to be proud, win or lose, but it would be an incredible accomplishment to win this football game.
And Coach, one more, I lied. You feel like because of the fact that you had so many guys having to fill in, was it almost a blessing in disguise that this team is deeper than it might have been if not for all those different weird things that happen?
Sure, when guys get an opportunity to play that maybe might not have gotten those reps, it's only going to make you a better team, a stronger team. It's kind of like our basketball coach. I feel bad for him, but he's missing 4 or 5 guys in the beginning of his basketball season because they're still with us. And, the conversation he and I have been having is, as well, there are guys on his basketball team getting reps that would not have gotten them. And hopefully, it's not where he starts, it's going to be where he finishes. And those guys are going to help him down the road because of that. So, yeah, certainly to have depended on some different people has helped us here. And some guys have, we've lost 5 starters due to injuries, and guys have had to step up and fill those positions. So depth is big at this time of the year.
Well, most definitely, and I know Coach Ewell as well, and I know that both you guys are going to go pretty deep. Obviously, they may go deep as you guys have right now. We hope you come home with a victory. Kyle Simmons, head coach of the Westfield Bulldogs, getting his team ready for their matchup with Oscar Smith in the 6A state championship. Coach Simmons, good luck on Saturday.
Thanks so much, and thanks for your interest in Westfield football.
Of course, Kyle Simmons, again, looking for that first state championship as a head coach, actually has 2 in the back pocket as a defensive coordinator under the legendary Tom Urbanek, of course, now over at Flint Hill. Coming up, we'll go ahead and check in with the guy who just won a state championship. That would be DeLon Parrish, the head coach of the Wise Pumas. He's coming up right here on the final drive. Remember, if you want to check in with us, do it via Twitter, DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks in the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on the Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of the Final Drive. For more information about advertising on the Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. Welcome back into the Final Drive here on DMVSTREAM.com. Of course, we're talking football tonight, but make sure to check out some high school basketball on Saturday here on DMVSTREAM.com as we bring you the National High School Hoops Festival for the low price of $9.99. You can see all 7 games from DeMatha. Those matchups include Bishop McNamara against Eleanor Roosevelt, Virginia Episcopal versus St. James of Maryland, Texas Power API up against Paul VI, and host DeMatha versus Wise of PG County. Remember, action tips off at 10:30 a.m. and goes until the conclusion of DeMatha and Wise, which gets going around 9 p.m. Again, you can see it for just $9.99 right here on DMVStream.com. And speaking of Wise, had a chance to catch up with the head coach of the Wise football team, that'd be DeLon Parrish. His team coming off their big win in the state championship against Howard. Of course, Coach Parrish joined me earlier on in the week to talk about that win and the Pumas' big season. Well, DeLon, I had this thought after I watched a bit of the film and saw some of the game stories, and I think there was a quote in there that kind of said the same thing. It seemed like your big win over Howard in the championship game was pretty much the case of very good athletes executing at a very high level. Did you kind of see that from your team that night?
Yes, I did. When I watched the film, we broke it down as a staff, we felt like we had a lot of individual matchups that just wasn't good in their favor. And all we had to do was pretty much execute that. Of course, it was kind of nerve-wracking because you're sitting there saying, they're undefeated at 13-0. A team just like you, they don't quit. They're hungry. But we just felt like individually, when you broke down their roster, there was just so many mismatches that if our kids went out there and execute, they could get ugly in a hurry.
Yeah, and of course, that's what happened. And of course, a lot of people are going to focus on the 55, but I thought what was very impressive was the 6, a team with Malik Anderson has done some great things for them. But it appeared that at least early in the game and maybe into the whole thing, your defensive line kind of dominated the matchup and your defense kind of played in their backfield. Is that what you saw?
Yes. Our whole concern leading into the game was they run a lot of zone runs, and Malik is a great cutback runner. What we was fearing was now D-line would penetrate so much that it would give him cutback lanes. It would put a big lane between him and our linebackers in space. He excelled in making people miss in space. But what ended up happening was after that first run, they knew they didn't have to penetrate that far upfield, and they could get off. It was a field thing. Once that happened, I knew it was going to be a long night for them running the ball.
And it was obviously outgained him 395 to 127 on the night. Your running back, of course, had one heck of a game. C.J. Rainey, 5 touchdowns in the contest, finished up with 153. Talk about his performance on the night.
Well, he pretty much did that all year. I think he finished with something like 1850 rushing this year in the 14 games we played with like 31 touchdowns. So, we kind of expect that from him. He's a tough runner in between the tackles. A lot of people mistake him for being a scat back, but he's not. He's 5'8", 190. He's an in between the tackles runner. He just doesn't ever stop running his feet. I'm not so sure they see running backs like that. In our conference, we see people bigger than that,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't see running backs as shifty as Malik in their favor. So I just thought CJ did what he did all year long: run hard, run tough, and be patient in his runs.
Now, your quarterback, Jabari Law, has had a good night as well, and I kind of want to ask a general question off that. In the preseason, you said you wanted to have a more wide-open offense. It was something that you had kind of been considering since your last state championship win back in 2012. Talk a bit about what you kind of wanted to do as an offense this year and how well you think your kids executed it.
Well, I talked earlier about us spreading around, passing it. For us, we want to keep our completion percentage up above 55%. If we can complete half our passes, we feel like we have the athletes, we can get them in space. They can do damage that way. So Jabari was able to effectively run our offense. I think he passed over 1,900 yards this year with 30 touchdown passes, only 4 picks. He was extremely proficient. He allowed our offense to do many, many things. We throw deep, short, mid-range. He was exceptional. And because of him, I think he took his lumps as a sophomore. We basically sat back and said, we're going to go as far as that young man take us. And we excelled. We waited for this year. We knew that the things that he did not do last year, he's been a quarterback his whole life. He understands the game, that he would take his game to the next level. He worked hard in the off season. He ran track. He lifted. He was a leader. And our result of that is a state championship.
And most definitely, head coach of the Wise Pumas, DeLon Parrish, talking about his team's big win over Howard in the 4A Maryland State Championship last week, 55-6. Of course, 14-0 season for you guys. This year's second state title, Coach Parrish, comes in a little bit different way. That one against Quince Orchard was a real nail-biter. This one a bit different. Was the feeling any different for you after the final whistle went off in this contest?
That one against QO, that was my third appearance. That was nerve-wracking. You was hoping the third time's the charm, so to speak. And fortunately for us, it was. So, I was extremely excited, get the monkey off my back, so to speak. This one was gratifying in the sense that as a staff, as a team, we wasn't afraid of change. We embraced it. We all talk about what's the difference between a good coach and a great coach. I think the difference between even a good staff and a great staff is you have to be able to change, meet the times, and not be afraid to go into the unknown, not be afraid to be uncomfortable. Take the talent you give or you have and execute, whether it's a new offense or different variables. We was able to do that, embrace that, and the kids allowed us to do that. So look, that was gratifying in that sense that we never wavered from what we wanted to do. We had some stumps and stop plugs along the way, but we stayed the course. And the result of that was the title.
And Coach, a lot of folks are going to say, well, they have all this talent and all these different things, but you talk about coaching, and sometimes I've found that coaches, their toughest job is when they do have a lot of talent because they have to find a way to keep kids motivated. Really, you guys had one close game all year, the first matchup against Douglas. How were you able to kind of keep pushing the right buttons to get your guys to give their best performance every Friday night?
Well, in today's world, being a coach is more of a psychological warfare, I call it. You have to motivate the young men. As you said, get them out there to be prepared. You have to keep challenging. You have to give them goals. Set your expectations high. We was always looking at any little record we could possibly achieve. I had to go back into our archives, so to speak, and when did we ever beat this team by this amount, or what could we have done, how many yards we ever held this team to, and we set those goals up to see if this team can match that. Sometimes they was able to, sometimes they didn't. That way they was frustrated. Then they come back and practice wanting to work even harder. But coming into the season, it's funny, we have a lot of talent. I think we have a lot of talent every year, but it wasn't really like, the only people talk about was those two corners we had. And then all of a sudden, I always felt like the things that set us apart from a lot of programs is our program kids. The kids that's inside the program working hard, lifting, running. The kid that may not be a Division I, but he's a Division II, Division III kid that he believes in the program. And we're fortunate enough to have a lot of those type kids.
You know, obviously, DeLon Parrish, a lot of good kids at that Wise program that just won another state championship, 55-6 over Howard. Couple more for you, Coach. And one of the questions and to your credit, you answered it. They asked you about playing Damascus, and obviously we know that can't happen. It would be a titanic matchup everyone would like to see. But is there part of you at all, or even on the kid side of things? You know, this year there were a couple games there. You look at the Duval game where Antoine Brooks goes down. It kind of changes that game. You don't see Quince Orchard get through. You don't see Old Mill get through. Obviously, Howard, a very quality team. But was there a part of you that said, hey, we would have maybe liked to have had a chance to kind of show just how good we were against some of these teams at them firing at their best?
Well, you know, you always you have to play the teams that's put in front of you, the same as Howard. You know, I look at it from this standpoint also. You know, we played 7 to 8 teams with 500 or winning records.
Mm-hmm.
It would annihilate those teams. Of course, I would love, and I'm sure QO would love that challenge too. You know, Old Mill would love that challenge too, to see exactly how we would face against each other, you know. So, of course, the best always want to play the best. I'm sure some coaches will tell you sometimes there's a little bit of luck with that, you know, as when we won the state title on QO. That game could have went either way back then. But as a competitor, and our kids is definitely competitive, we would love to play anybody out there, you know, and let's see how the chips fall as they may. But unfortunately, they didn't make it out, and we did. You know, as far as the Damascus go, that would be a real interesting run, in my opinion. To me, I look at Damascus as how we were in the past. Ground and pound and play great defense. You know, this team could do many facets. We could play ground and pound. We could throw this ball, and we still play great defense. So, you know, that would be a challenge. We've been on that side where we've played teams that could do both, and we still came out and win because we was able to force our will upon us. I would love to see those two great programs match up, Wise, Damascus, and see what would happen.
Would be fun one day down the road. Coach, going to ask you this one because obviously you got a pretty high profile as a Maryland high school football coach now, and you guys won the title. Is there any part of you that might like to see Maryland kind of change up how they do their playoffs? In Virginia, they kind of go a big 16-team pod and kind of rank them off, you know, highest power points, where you guys are still kind of in the sectional way of doing things. Would either one of those be more appealing to you, or do you kind of like it how it is right now?
No, I would like to us 16 teams make the playoffs and then reseed them that way. I think that's the only way you could put the best teams in the finals. The way we do it now, as I'm sure you see, this year's where one region might have 3 of the better teams in that, in the state, in that one region. And then you're battling just to get out that region, you know. But if you reseed them 1 through 16, then we're going to find out who the best. I'm not so sure the state of Maryland wants that right now. You know, I think the powers that be like representation from every county, whether for the exception of wanting to see the best football.
Gotcha. One last one for you, Coach, as we wrap up with DeLon Parrish, head coach of the Wise Pumas, the state champions in 4A in Maryland. Obviously, you were a standout player at Howard County High School. Some say you're maybe the best ever out of that place. Did it at all did you have any type of feeling about your alma mater when you had to take them on in a state championship game, or were you able to just block it out?
I was able to block it out. You know, I had some experience when I coached at Wild Lake High School with Coach Douglas Duvall, who won 5 state titles. You know, he went to Howard High. You know, I remember asking him when we went to play him, how you feel about it? And he basically was like, hey, you got a job to do. You owe the kids that you're coaching right now your allegiance, your love, and your commitment to them. And that's just what you're going to do. You always love your high school. You love your friends, the memories that was there. But, you know, they trained you for this. They trained you to go out to the world and be the best you can be. And that's just how I looked at it.
And obviously you've done a great job at Wise, another state championship for you, 55-6 over Howard in the 4A state championship game. Wise Pumas head coach DeLon Parrish, congratulations again, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. You have a good day.
Of course, Coach Parrish, again, doing such a wonderful job with that Wise Pumas team. Again, a very good performance by them this year, going undefeated to win a state championship. You Puma fans out there, remember, DMV Stream also bring you the basketball game tomorrow, the big one against DeMatha. Again, you can see it right here on DMVStream.com for the low price of $9.99. Of course, you get all 7 games of the National High School Hoops Festival out at DeMatha, so you get it all. Of course, you also get to see the big one, Wise and DeMatha, tomorrow. Speaking of DeMatha, we'll hear from the head coach of their football team, Elijah Brooks. That's coming up right here on the Final Drive. Remember, want to get in contact with us, do it via Twitter at DMVStream, hashtag it with DMV Final Drive. Again, that's DMVStream, hashtag it DMV Final Drive. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVStream.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. Welcome back into the Final Drive here on DMVStream.com. Jeremy Huber back with you. Of course, so many great guests on our show tonight. Now we head over to the prestigious WCAC, where, of course, DeMatha again won the WCAC championship, third year in a row for them. Of course, did take the loss to Gonzaga earlier in the season, but the Stags very powerful when it counted. Of course, a blowout win in the semifinals of the WCAC playoffs against St. John's. Did pretty much the same thing against Good Counsel in the finals. Had a chance to catch up with the head coach of the Stags, Elijah Brooks, earlier this week. Talked about that win over Good Counsel and his team's season in general. Well, Coach Brooks, obviously a huge win for you guys in the WCAC title game against Good Counsel, your third straight. How does that sound to be able to say your team has won 3 straight WCAC championships?
It's a phenomenal feeling. You know, everyone in the DeMatha family, we're extremely proud of our players, our coaches, our entire program. You know, winning in the WCAC is difficult, and being able to win 3 straight championships is something we're really proud about.
Taking you back to that game at Byrd Stadium, you beat Good Counsel 48-17 and really helped you guys out in that one to jump out to a 21-point lead. How did you get your guys to get off to that great start to kind of jump out like you did on the Falcons?
I think that, our entire program, we were focused and we had a mission. So our preparation during the week was outstanding, and there was no way that this senior class was going to come out and fall short. So we wanted to play fast from the very beginning, and we came out with a focus and a determination, and it showed on the field on the championship day.
Of course, one of the guys with determination for you. He's had it all year, all his career at DeMatha. Lorenzo Harrison, 243 on the ground with 3 touchdowns in that title game. Talk a bit about his great performance that day.
Yeah, it was a great way for Lorenzo to end his career. At Bird Stadium, and he'll be going to College Park next year. But again, he's one of those seniors. He's been on the team since his freshman year. He wanted to make sure that his class won a championship, and he had a great day on the ground, running behind a great offensive line, and he made all the right cuts, and it was just his day to really show and prove. So he's done a fantastic job for our program the last 4 years, and it was a great way to end his career.
Most definitely. Of course, you talk about your offense having a good day. Your defense did as well. They shut down that kind of ground-based attack the Falcons had for most of the game. And they also provide some big plays. Robbie Robinson with the fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then, of course, your big defensive lineman, Austin Fontaine, with a pick six, kind of put the victory cigar out there. Talk about what your defense was able to do to shut down the Falcons.
Our defense aimed at, not give up big plays like we did during the regular season matchup. Up front, our front four, Shane Simmons, Austin Fontaine, Sean Oluwatimi, and Chase Young, they had a great day, containing the run and putting pressure on the quarterbacks, forcing them into tough throws. And everyone on the back end of our defense were in a position to make interceptions. Tino Ellis, Brenton Nelson, or fumble recovery for touchdowns like Robbie Robinson had. So just all the way around, it was a team effort, and those guys did a great job.
Talking to Elijah Brooks, head coach of the DeMatha Stags, winning their 3rd straight WCAC title a few weeks back. Coach, obviously you had played good counsel. They gave you a bit of a game the first time around, only a 5-point win. Going into that game, was there anything different you did in the second game than in the first game from a coaching standpoint, maybe from a player standpoint?
Number one thing was making sure that we didn't hurt ourselves. In the first matchup, we gave up big plays defensively because we weren't aligned properly, and execution was something that hurt us the first game. We turned the ball over in inopportune times, and, they really took advantage of that. So we wanted to make sure that we came out and we didn't hurt ourselves. We didn't turn the ball over, and we didn't give up big plays. And as a result, we had a pretty good day.
Most definitely you did, getting that win over a quality, good counsel team coached by Bob Malloy. Now, I want to take you back to kind of the whole season in general, get a big overview of that. Of course, the goal for you guys, I know a lot of the kids stated this and it was out there, you were looking to go undefeated, obviously, and possibly compete for the national number 1. You lose to Gonzaga. That one kind of obviously put a crimp in that. How did your guys refocus after that goal went away to go ahead and doing what was left on the table for them?
The Gonzaga loss was a tough loss because we know we didn't play to our maximum ability that day. We had, 4 more turnovers, penalties that, just weren't characteristic of our team. But, a lot of times you can learn a lot from adversity, and that game allowed us to refocus, get back to fundamentals and basics. And, I think it proved to make us a better team moving forward. So while that was a disappointment, it definitely made us a better team and allowed us to get back to what made us successful early on in the year.
Coach, was there any part of you or the kids that kind of said, hey, we kind of like another shot at Gonzaga, maybe a little disappointment when they got knocked out of the other side by good counsel?
Hey, absolutely. I would be lying if I said otherwise. A fantastic program, fantastic team. But we just felt that, we hurt ourselves that game, and we definitely wanted another opportunity to have another shot at them. It didn't work out that way. And, it's nothing you could do about it. But if if we could have got another opportunity to play, and we would have loved to have it.
Coach, obviously this year you had yourself one whale of a schedule in the non-conference. You played American Heritage, played Miami Central, two great teams from down in Florida. You also played LaSalle of Pennsylvania, a powerhouse up in the Philadelphia area. What do you kind of look for when you're going through your schedules? Is DeMatha a school now that really it's going to be playing that national schedule when you step out of conference?
Absolutely. You know, we always have to take a look at what we have in our program and put our kids in the best position to succeed. So, you know, we don't want to put our kids in a bad position if we don't think that we have the talent to compete. But year in, year out, we feel as a program, you know, we can compete at a high level. And we want to match our program up against some of the nation's top teams. So even in losses, we feel like you can gain a lot of experience and a lot of exposure. So we look to add those matchups because we think it helps our program all the way around.
Coach, you talk about matching up against top teams, and we had a chance to do the game, the DCSA championship game, Gonzaga and H.C. Woodson. Again, you did a phenomenal job. Want to thank you for that on the air. But talking about that before the game, we kind of talked a little bit about the possibility, hey, if they did come up with a way to go ahead and match up some of the private schools in Baltimore, kind of like they do in D.C., kind of like they do in Virginia, let them play the D.C. and Baltimore as the best kind of matching up for a championship. Maybe you guys in Gilman in a nice matchup there. Would you be for something like that if it could be pulled together?
Absolutely. You know, we don't like, you know, having end of the season polls and things, you know, dictate, you know, who the top team in the area is. We like, just like they do in college, for it to be played out on the field. So we know that we're not in control of, you know, putting that together. But wow, wouldn't it be great if you had, you know, the area champions come together and have, you know, another game or a semifinal playoff game, you know, top 4 teams in the area. I just think it'll be great for the area. You know, the area's reputation is growing when it comes to football. And, you know, it'll just be good for everyone in the DMV. So, you know, it might be wishful thinking, but it's definitely something we will be in favor of.
Elijah Brooks, one last one before we let you go. Obviously, now we talked about it earlier, 3 titles in a row. Your team obviously gets tested all the time in the WCAC, but you are a winning program. What motivates you to kind of keep going and winning those titles and being a high school coach, albeit at a great program in DeMatha?
You know, I definitely think that, you know, we have to maintain true to who we are as a program, and that is just blue-collar hard work. And we're not going to change. We're going to consistently come out and prepare our kids, you know, in the classroom and in film study and preparation. And at the end of the day, we're just going to continue doing it the DeMatha way. And hopefully, you know, it pays dividends moving forward. And we're just excited about the future.
Well, Coach, the DeMatha way has been working awfully well as of late. 3 straight titles for you after you took one against Good Counsel a few weeks back. Elijah Brooks, head coach of the DeMatha Stags, thank you so much, and congratulations once again.
Thanks a lot, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
And, of course, Coach Brooks doing a great job again this year. Another title for DeMatha in the WCAC. All you Stag fans, remember, tomorrow you got a big game on the basketball court as you'll take on public school Power Wise as part of the National High School Hoops Festival. You can see that game and all 7 games of the National High School Hoops Festival right here on DMVSTREAM.com for just $9.99. Of course, your matchups include Largo versus Bowie, Bishop McNamara against Eleanor Roosevelt, Virginia Episcopal versus St. James of Maryland, Texas Power API up against Paul VI, and of course, host DeMatha versus Wise of PG County. Action tips off at 10:30 a.m. and goes until the conclusion of DeMatha and Wise, which gets going around 9 p.m. You can see it all for just $9.99 right here on DMVSTREAM.com. Coming up, we will chat with 2 folks who played big roles in the DCSAA championships. Safety for Gonzaga, Luke McCaleb, and also the head coach of the Single A champ, Sidwell Friends, John Simon. That's coming up right after this here on The Final Drive. Looking for some of the best barbecue in the area? Well, then come on down to Monk's. Monk's Barbecue has all your favorites: delicious pulled pork, tender, moist brisket, and dry rubbed ribs that just fall off the bone, as well as specialty items like pulled chicken, pastrami, and Kansas City burnt ends. Add in delicious sides like Monk's special baked beans, smoked Gouda mac and cheese, vinegar coleslaw, and many more, and you can't get any better. That's Monk's Barbecue in the heart of Loudoun County, online at monksq.com. That's monks and the letter Q.com. And go to their Facebook page to find out more about their live music and drinks.
DMVSTREAM.com produces live broadcasts for professional, semi-pro, and amateur sporting events, as well as colleges, universities, high schools, AAU, and youth tournaments in the Mid-Atlantic. With a client list that includes ESPN, The Washington Post, Monumental Sports Network, CBS.com, USAFootball.com, USLacrosse.org, NCAA.com, the National Federation of High School Sports, and Georgetown University, among others, Synthesis Multimedia has emerged as the Mid-Atlantic's top provider of sports multimedia. Contact us today to learn more about streaming your events live.
Are you a fan of high school sports? Does high school sports attract the type of customers you want for your business? If so, then consider advertising here on The Final Drive. The Final Drive on DMVSTREAM.com is a weekly show dedicated to high school football in the District, Maryland, and Virginia. We update scores and talk to the movers and shakers from Friday night's top games, and we preview the big matchups from Saturday's action. So consider being a part of The Final Drive. For more information about advertising on The Final Drive, contact Jeremy Huber at jrh0001@gmail.com. That's jrh0001@gmail.com. Montgomery Shade and Awning is a third-generation family business that sells and installs shade systems utilizing awnings and canopies. They specialize in both commercial and residential awnings and have been serving Northern Virginia since 1975. So check out what Rob, Lewis, Brian, and Tom can do for you. Montgomery Shade and Awning. Call 1-800-300-1941 or find them online at montgomeryawning.com. Welcome back into The Final Drive here on DMVStream.com. Jeremy Huber back with you. Remember, we'll wrap the show, letting you know exactly what's going on. Of course, Virginia still has their playoffs ongoing. Of course, we talked about Westfield and their big matchup tomorrow against Oscar Smith. Stonebridge, they face off tomorrow against Highland Springs in the 5A championship in Virginia. We'll talk about those and, of course, also the rest of the games in Virginia. If you're interested, that'll be coming up towards the end of the show. But first, I want to go ahead and hear from a couple of the guys who played big roles in the DCSAA championship games. Of course, the AA championship went to Gonzaga as they were able to go ahead and pull away from H.D. Woodson and rout the Warriors big time in the second half. Of course, the MVP of that contest was the do-everything safety of Gonzaga, Luke McCaleb. Had a chance to catch up with Luke after the matchup at Howard University.
Well, Luke, pretty cool way to end your high school football career, a win in the DCSA state championship game. Tell us about the feelings you're going through right now, knowing you go out a winner.
Yeah, feelings or words can't really describe what I'm feeling right now. After losing to good counsel in the semifinals and the WCAC, getting another chance to go and actually finish the season the way you want to, the way to go out with a win is just remarkable. And all these guys that have helped us so much and given so much time to us, I can't thank them enough to give me feelings like I have right now. Just $1 million.
How tough is it to kind of refocus after? Because I was just doing the game with Coach Brooks, and he was saying how it's one of those things. Those WCAC title games, the playoffs are so tough to kind of refocus after you end up losing the matchup and come back and play as well as you guys did in this game and the game against Friendship.
Yeah, right after that good counsel game, we took 3 days off and just cleared our minds, and then the rest of that week we just played. We just had fun with football. We just played football because we loved it. We were just going offense versus defense, going live, having fun with it. And that really revamped us up. And so then the week after, we could get into film and stuff and just remember what football's all about and having fun with it. So then we went out with Friendship and just played how we play. And that's really what set the tone, I think, those 3 days where we took off and then just having fun with it again.
Now, looking at today's game, they've got those two great receivers in Motley and in Peeler. You guys didn't give up anything big to them. There were some little plays they made. How were you guys able to go ahead and slow them down in the passing game and not allow a lot of big plays?
Yeah, the first person I got to thank is really our defensive back coach, Coach Panker. He worked us all week, and he sets a fire in us. He says, guys, you don't have any respect from anybody. You got to prove it. So that's what we go out and do. And then other than that, our D-line and linebackers just tore it up today. Causing bad throws, causing tough throws, getting in the quarterback's face, causing havoc for their O-line. So really it was just a combination, not just us. And then my other two corners, Trey and Joe Zuccari, they just played it great today and really stepped up their game.
Here with the standout safety for Gonzaga, Luke McHale. A couple more questions. You win the MVP here. How do you feel about getting a chance to go ahead and be an MVP in your high school football career?
Yeah, I was really excited with it. It's really everybody though. I don't know if I really deserve this. We got Tyree, Joey Freeman had 2 touchdowns, Kyle Taylor making tackles left and right. So there's really a team award. I was very blessed to have gotten it though, and I thank all those other guys that helped me to get it.
Yeah, and the last one for you. You are a lacrosse guy. You're headed to Brown next year, at least that's where you're committed. Talk about that and maybe being how you're a 2-sport star at Gonzaga and how fun that is.
Yeah, it's just great being at Gonzaga, where you have people who love both sports. Both sports are very big, football and lacrosse, and having coaches that are encouraging in both and can give you chances in both. And, I just like to thank everybody who's helped me get to where I am, get to the opportunities I had to play football or lacrosse in college. And I'm just really excited to see what I can do in the future. So
quick reason why you chose Brown?
Well, my dad went there. I really like the campus, and the coaches are great and the guys are great up there. So I kind of felt like it was a perfect fit for me.
Congratulations, Luke.
Thank you so much.
Luke McHale, the standout safety for Gonzaga, of course, did so many things for that team. A safety, did some running back behind the great Tyree Randolph, also returned kicks for that Gonzaga team. Really kind of a keystone of that Eagles squad as they were able to go ahead and win the DCSAA AA championship. Of course, the single A championship was handed out the week before that game at Catholic, and it, as much as the AA game was a bit of a blowout, the single A game was a classic as Sidwell Friends won a shootout against Eastern, getting some revenge from the year before. Well, I had a chance to catch up with the head coach of Sidwell Friends, John Simon, talk about his team getting a chance at some redemption after losing the previous 2 single A championships in the DCSAA. Well, Coach Simon, I was on the call that day at Catholic University for the championship game against Eastern, and it was one of the best football games I'd ever seen. How about your personal catalog? Where did that rank, that matchup against Eastern, you guys getting the win in the championship?
Well, it's probably one of the most exciting games that I've ever played or coached, rather, but I wish it hadn't have gone down to the wire like that, but I know it was exciting for the fans.
Yeah, most definitely. Obviously, 44-38 shootout against Eastern. Looking at that game, was there a part of you kind of proud of how resilient you guys were in that game, considering the back and forth nature of the matchup?
Yeah, there was, because the players kept telling me, as long as we got time left in the game, Coach, we can catch up. And I think there was under 2 minutes when we went down and went ahead. And I just wish we could have made that 2 points. It would have made it a lot different, on that last touchdown we made. But, I felt pretty good about that. And then the way the defense stepped it up, the whole game actually really made me feel good because, even though Johnson got a lot of yardage there, we held him pretty much in the first half. We held him pretty good. In the second half, we kind of lost the contain on him. But he's a great football player, and I was really proud of the way we played against him.
And you talk about being proud of your defense playing against Jerome Johnson, the standout quarterback for Eastern. I guess, how proud were you that you guys ended up with the game-winning stop on defense, where it looked like it was kind of whoever had the ball last was going to win the game?
Yeah, that's true. And I think a lot of people think that Josh Portnoy did a really good job when he sacked him on that last play, but the play before that, where Jamie Landry, our defensive player, made the tackle on that pass and kind of held the receiver up. It the couple of seconds off the clock, and I think that was huge the way he played that. He's only a freshman, and he did a heck of a job, tackling that kid, because I think it was Battle he tackled. Battle was a top receiver in that game.
Yeah, obviously a lot of guys on your team did some big things that day. One of them, another youngster, R.C. Walbrook, had the game-winning touchdown pass on the kind of screen set up there from Ted Hefter. The play had a little bit of controversy to it as there was a flag and they picked the flag up. Can you tell us all about that play, not just the call on the play, but also what you heard as the coach when it came to the referees having a discussion about it?
What they said to me, the one that was closest to me, was the guy on the far side threw the flag, and he didn't realize that it was a screen, and I think he caught an illegal block downfield, but on a screen, and I kept looking the tape over and over, and I truly believe that it was a legitimate, screen pass, so he wasn't over the line of scrimmage, and that's what the ref told me. He said that the guy that threw the flag didn't realize it was a screen pass. He thought it was just a regular pass out in the flat. And that was nerve-wracking too, to see them discussing that play when we knew it was a screen pass.
And I bet, watching that play, one of the things I was I was really impressed by was the fact not only Walbrook's play to kind of cut it all the way back, but the fact that some of your guys kept going on the play despite the fact that they saw a flag on the ground.
Right. They just, we've been telling them all year, just, continue to play. Don't worry about the flags. And that's what they did. I think their emotions were pretty high. And when they saw that, R.C. Walbrook was moving the way he did, it was a great run by him to go through their defense like that. They just kept playing and then hoped that the flag wouldn't be, against us, which it was, but it wasn't, I guess, be the way to put it.
Coach John Simon, head coach at Sidwell Friends, talk about his squad's win over Eastern 44-38 in the DCSAA Class A title game. Of course, one of the big guys, one of the big reasons that you won that matchup, and one of the reasons you had such a good season, your quarterback, Ted Hefter. Obviously, Coach had a very good day that day, but interestingly, middle of the game, he kind of went out, and you guys had to go away from him, went to some Wildcat and things. Exactly what happened to Ted in that game, and how did he kind of come back and lead you guys back to the win?
Well, he kind of got shook up on I think it was 3rd down and long, and he got hit pretty hard by Eastern, and he got shook up, and he, wasn't feeling real good. And the trainer, so he was sitting on the sideline, and the trainer went through the concussion protocol, and thought that he was okay. And then, we talked to him at halftime, and he said, "Coach, I'm fine. I'm ready to go back in." And it made a huge difference, when he went back in as far as the passing attack went. And I was really pleased with the fact that, I would have never put him back in if the trainer had told me not to, but he passed all the tests, and then he remembered, that screen pass, when we talked about that, using that with the big rush they had in the first half on him, especially when he got hit, and he called it at the right time. And so that's what happened. We thought he might have had a concussion, but he didn't.
And obviously the way Ted played in that game, we in the booth, we almost said, this kid, not just the number, just everything about him, the play calling, the mannerisms, kind of a mini Peyton Manning out there. Talk again about his performance in that contest and all year long.
Well, all year long, he has been the leader of the team. Like I told you before, he studies the film. He studied the Eastern film. He was hoping they would come out in the 4-3, which they did. They played a little man also, but he just studies the game so much. And then all during the game, we have a guy upstairs, one of our other student managers was, taking, he was on the side of the film, the press box, and he was taking pictures of the defense, and Ted was studying with our offensive quarter, when we were on defense, and he saw where he thought he could complete passes, and that's the kind of kid he is. He's just a leader, and he studies the game so well. We practiced Saturday morning because we wanted to make sure that we had covered every angle about that team, and I think it paid off for us because we didn't even know who we were going to play until basically Tuesday night. And then we started practicing through Thanksgiving so that we could be sure and give it everything we had. And Ted was a big reason for that.
Yeah, obviously real key to that win. Another key to your win was all the skill players. I was really impressed by what you guys trotted out there, the running back spots, the wide receivers. Talk about them and what they're able to do in the game where they were playing against really, and again, a shootout game against Eastern, had their own lot of playmakers. Your guys stood up tall in that one.
Well, those running backs that we had out there, Mark Chichester and R.C. Walbrook, they're both sophomores, and they just stood out unbelievable. I mean, Mark was able to get the edge on the speedy guys that Eastern had, and that was a huge part of the game because when we ran that ball in the third quarter, I think when I looked up, we stopped them on that first drive when they came out in the third quarter. And then I looked up and we had our drive, and I think there was 2 minutes left on the clock. So the game plan was to keep Eastern's offense off the field, and it worked pretty good. I mean, in the third quarter, I don't think they were on the field that much. We were on it way longer than they were.
Yeah, and obviously helped you guys to the win. And Coach Simon, really an important win for your program. You get your first DCSA Class A title game after being in the title game. This is your third year in a row to do it. You get a revenge win over Eastern after they beat you last year. How good was to go ahead and kind of check all those boxes in one game?
I tell you, it was awesome. I've never seen these kids so happy. I mean, it's all about the kids. And they were the happiest kids that I'd seen in a long time because we were kind of down because we had a shootout with Flint Hill and we lost the MAC title. But I've never seen these kids happier than they were winning the championship there, the state. And the kids, a lot of the kids were home from college that were on that team last year, and they were down there on the sideline just telling these guys it felt awful last year to lose. Give it everything you got and it'll pay off, and that's what they did.
Well, obviously it did as you guys capped the season with a 44-38 win over Eastern, the DCSA Class A title game. Head coach of the Sidwell Friends Quakers, John Simon, congratulations again, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And, of course, Coach Simon, again, wrapping it up, that state championship in D.C., the lower classification, a big win for his squad. Really quick, want to go ahead and take a look at those games tomorrow. Only six area football games left, and depending on where you live, maybe not even in your area, but of course, two local teams playing tomorrow. Early game tomorrow down in Charlottesville at Scott Stadium on the campus of the University of Virginia. It'll be fifth-seeded Stonebridge taking on a one seed, at least out of their own region, Highland Springs. Stonebridge comes in with 4 losses. Of course, remember 3 of those losses coming with their standout quarterback Joe Thompson out with an ankle injury. Highland Springs 13-1. Springs, more of a spread team, likes to throw it around, though they do have a big back. Stonebridge, of course, single wing squad, though they can spread it out some too and let Joe Thompson throw it if need be. Should be an interesting one there. Remember, Stonebridge is 1-4 in state championships all time, though all 4 of those losses have come to teams from the Tidewater area. Their win came against Potomac, so of the local school down in the Woodbridge, Prince William area. So we'll see if that means anything different taking on Highland Springs of Richmond tomorrow. Second game at Scott Stadium tomorrow, a 4:07 start. It'll be Oscar Smith undefeated at 13-0, taking on Westfield at 13-1. Bulldogs just getting that revenge to beat South County last week to win the 6A North title. Of course, their only loss of the season, playing some very good football right now, kind of changing some things up on offense with a really solid defense. Oscar Smith, playmakers all over the field. We'll see what the Bulldogs are able to go ahead and do. Again, your game, Stonebridge and Highland Springs, set for 12:07. Eastern time tomorrow. Westfield and Oscar Smith follows at 4:07 down at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville. Of course, 2A, no local teams, 4A and 3A, that is, no local teams available there. Both games in Lynchburg, Salem, Powerhouse, undefeated at 13-0, taking on Lake Taylor, the defending state champs in their classification. I think Lake Taylor actually has won 3 in a row in different classifications. Should be an interesting game tomorrow. That's the late game down in Lynchburg at Liberty University. Early game in 3A, it's Magna Vista versus Lord Botetourt. And in 2A and 1A to be played down in Salem, it's the Clark County Eagles, somewhat of a local team, just away from kind of most people's local area requirements, I guess you could say. Just the next door neighbors, the Loudoun County. Clark going for their first ever state title as they're at 13-1. They take on Appomattox County tomorrow in the 4:30 game down in Salem. The 12 o'clock game in Salem, the 1A finals, Galax versus Riverhead. So, of course, most of the local will be paying attention to Westfield, Oscar Smith, and Stonebridge and Highland Springs as both sets of Bulldogs look to bring home state championships. Again, this is our final, this is our season finale of this show, though we may be having some things in the works, planning actually a season recap show as well that'll kind of get up on DMVSTREAM.com, so make sure you check Twitter. Plenty of information will be up on the show about that as we move along through the rest of the year, but again, that'll go ahead and let you know exactly where to find it. We're hoping to be a pretty good show when it comes to kind of recapping the season, another great high school football season in the DMV. But that's going to go ahead and do it for our show and our season here on the final drive. Again, want to thank all of our guests on the show tonight. It was a fantastic one. Again, so thankful to get so many of the very helpful high school football coaches in the area to go ahead and join us on the show. Our guest list today included DeLon Parrish, head coach of the Wise Pumas, 4A state champs in Maryland. Elijah Brooks, the WCAC champs of DeMatha, their head coach. Kyle Simmons, the head coach of the Westfield Bulldogs, going for a 6A state championship in Virginia tomorrow. And also 2 representatives from the DCSAA champs, the AA champs Gonzaga, their safety Luke McCaleb, and the single A champs, their head coach John Simon. So that's going to do it for another season on the final drive here on DMVStream.com. Remember, you can catch me and all the great crew of DMVStream.com on the Prep Zone on DMVStream.com, and also local cable channels as well. And don't forget the National High School Hoops Festival tomorrow here on DMVStream.com. See all 7 games for $9.99. This has been the final drive with Jeremy Huber. We'll see you next time.